Hi, everybody. Our speakers tonight have a number of things in common, but there's one commonality that outweighs all the others: their love for and reverence for the Oak Openings region. Both continue to be instrumental in the success of the Green Ribbon Initiative, a program that has created greater public awareness and appreciation for what Oak Openings is and why it's such a jewel in Northwest Ohio's natural world. Matty Watkins is the Green Ribbon Initiative Partnership Specialist and chairs its Outreach and Education Committee. Prior to Green Ribbon, Matty was with the Metro Parks Toledo as a programmer and environmental education specialist. Matty holds certifications as an interpretive guide and environmental educator. In fact, you may already know Matty if you've ever attended an Oak Openings event. Matty's University of Toledo degree in art education has only enhanced those efforts. Matty is also the editor, illustrator, and sometimes cartoonist for the Green Ribbons quarterly newsletter. Rick Bryan, another well-known Oak Openings booster, earned his green chops as owner of the Portage Valley Plant Company. Since retiring from that position, he has served on numerous boards and committees involving conservation issues. He's also spent considerable time putting literally boots on the ground with land stewardship programs. He's been involved with the Green Ribbon Initiative since it started more than 20 years ago. UT graduate and Army veteran, has worked on about 50 prescribed forest fires in the Oak Openings region. And I know they're both burning to share everything about Oak Openings. So please welcome Matty.
Note. Well, thank you and good evening. It's great to be here. And one of the things I want to talk about is
Rick.
Okay, as the controls get turned over to me, which could be a danger, but we'll see. Anyway, why is the Oak Opening such an important place? In the late 90s, the Nature Conservancy had a program that they named some of the most unique and important places in the world as far as biodiversity. And the Oak Openings region in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan made that list. We have about 1/3 of all the rare species that exist in Ohio in Lucas County. We sort of vie with Brown County, which is down on the Ohio River, for who has the most rare species. The big difference is Brown County has a population about 20,000. Lucas County has a population over 400,000. So the fact that they have that many rare species here is pretty amazing. So, John,
Try now.
All right, where one of you. So how we define the Oak Openings has changed a little bit over time. It's basically sandy soil. It's about 5 miles wide and 80 miles long, runs from around Detroit Metro Airport down to Liberty Center, Ohio. Initially, we used a map from Edwin Mosley, who I'll talk about a little later. But there's also some outliers, but basically this is beach sand that was deposited by glaciers. And anyway, there's some outliers. If you've ever been to the Fulton County Fair, it's actually in part of the Oak Openings. It's a lot of oak trees there. And there's little areas, for instance, I don't know if you've ever heard of Fish Cemetery down in Wood County. It's near Route 6 and 199. It has prickly pear cactus that grows all over that little cemetery there. So it's obviously a sandy region. So the other major ecosystem of Northwest Ohio, of course, is the Great Black Swamp. And most of the Great Black Swamp is gone. Probably one of the best examples you can see of it is if you go to Gull Woods in Fulton County. And Terry Seidel, who works for the Nature Conservancy, and I've known for many years, told me that he felt that after the Florida Everglades, the Louisiana Bayou, that the Great Black Swamp in Northwest Ohio was the largest wetland complex east of the Mississippi River in North America. So anyway, it's a very important area. So who are some of the people that really put the oak openings on the map? Edwin Mosley, very eccentric fellow, started to visit the oak openings in 1898, visited it for 30 years, and published this book in 1928 called The Flora of the Oak Openings. He identified over 600 species that grew here and spent a lot of time exploring the area. So another early pioneer, you may have heard of Lou Campbell. We have a Lou Campbell Preserve. He's especially known as a birder. He was a compiler for the Christmas bird count for a mere 60 years when Matt Anderson has taken over for the next 40 years. So there's only been 2 people for the Christmas bird count. But anyway, this quote is from an article he wrote about the oak openings in 1953 from the Toledo Naturalist Annual Report. And by the way, they've been around since 1933. And what's really interesting, I looked up how many people belong to the Toledo Naturalist in 53, over 350 people. So pretty amazing. So anyway, one of the other areas, Lou Campbell is famous. He started recording the birds he saw here in the early 1920s. And in 1940, he put out this book, The Birds of Lucas County. And interestingly enough, he said, if any single bird be chosen to symbolize the oak openings, my ballot would certainly be cast for the golden-winged warbler. In 1933, he counted 37 golden-winged warblers. Tried to find one today. You'd be very lucky. So another person I knew personally, maybe some of you folks did, is Jane Forsyth. And she's queen of the Pleistocene, which is the area of glaciers. Her life's work was linked to botany and geology, but she especially knew a lot about glaciers. And some of the slides you're going to see are from this book that is a compilation of papers that one of her colleagues put together about 25 years ago. And she published a lot of papers that weren't just scientific journals, but for lay people that we could read. So this was a pretty neat book and has a lot of great information in it. Anyway, just on a little personal note about in the late 90s, we took a trip to Alaska with the Audubon Society on a small ship, only carried 75 people. And on the way, I was in the Seattle airport, and who do I run into but Jane Forsyth? And I said, so Dr. Forsyth, she said, call me Jane. I said, where are you headed? She said, oh, this small ship up in Alaska. I'm going to visit. I said, well, what's the name of the ship? She said, the Sea Lion. I said, well, we're on the trip together. So anyway, we spent a lot of time on zodiacs, exploring the glaciers and out in the wild, and had a lot of fun. I'll tell you one little tidbit she told me, since she's an expert on glaciers. I said, so I know most of the glaciers moved south and then north. I said, I've been on Kelly's Island to look at the glacial grooves. They go east and west. Why is that? She said, because prior to Lake Erie, that was a river. The glacier followed the river, and it was an east and west orientation, and it eventually dug out what became Lake Erie.
Amazing.
Okay, this is the glacial maximum occurred about 18 to 20,000 years ago. And if you can picture this, our area was covered with about a mile thick of ice. So if you go in downtown Toledo and look at the tallest building, which is a little over 300 feet tall, and add 17 more buildings on top of that, you'll get a picture of how thick the ice was. Now, if you go to Lake Superior, it was 2 miles thick. So we're talking about a tremendous amount of water tied up in ice. As a result, the sea levels were 400 feet lower. So we have a lot of archaeology that could take place, but it's underwater today as the glaciers melted. So anyway, the other interesting thing that goes on with the glaciers receding is what's called glacial rebound. The amount of weight that pushed down the land as that melted, the land started to rebound, and it's still going on today. Nearly, not so much around here, but at Lake Superior, the land is actually rising about 10 inches every 100 years, even today. So I could go through a lot of pictures on glaciers, but this is sort of our first picture of melting going on, and what's created here is what's called Lake Maumee that goes to essentially Fort Wayne, Indiana, and beach ridges were formed. I understand you can drive from, for instance, Lima, Ohio to Fort Wayne, and the old Route 30 follows the old beach ridge of Lake Maumee. So water was sort of escaping to the Mississippi basin at this time. And as time went on, did I move? A lot more water started to collect, but there were huge ice dams, so it didn't have anywhere to go, but it was still headed west at this time. Interestingly enough, did I skip over one? No. The area that we're really interested in is the Lake Warren beach ridges, because that really is what forms the oak openings. And where did the sand come from? It's actually beach sand as opposed to river sand, which tends to be more gravelly. And we think it's from mainly central Michigan as we match up the sand, that what it looks like here in the oak openings versus central Michigan. So not only did we have beach ridges, but we also had some areas that were almost like the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So those formed some of the ridges. Now, if you want to see more detail, go in the Living in the Oak Openings book. And Tim Fisher has some very detailed maps, LiDAR maps of where these various ridges are and how they were formed. They're really interesting. So going on, looking a lot more like the present Great Lakes. But what happened for a while is all the water drained through Ottawa, Canada, into the St. Lawrence, and Lake Erie almost dried up. So this happened about 95 years ago. And actually, it's a pretty dry period here. And a lot of the prairie species moved into the area. But within about 1,000 years, the way the Great Lakes look today looked a lot like they did then. So what's changed the oak openings region? This is just a picture of what things look like today. If you follow the green area from 275 near Romulus down along 23 and then west of 475, a lot of that is the oak openings territory. So what happened? Drainage started strictly by hand in the 1800s. Then they invented some pretty nasty looking machines that made ditches quickly and drained a lot of our area, which had, of course, a profound effect on the Great Black Swamp, but also a huge impact on the oak openings. I went to a presentation about 30 years ago, a couple of fellows from Williams County that talked about the early guys that were digging ditches, and a lot of them came from the Netherlands and Belgium, where they also put in a lot of these tiles, and they could dig and lay tile 2 feet deep very quickly. Well, what they found is those old tile are now at the surface. They didn't suddenly rise through the ground. The ground has eroded 2 feet in general, that those tile are now at the surface. Other influence, Smokey Bear. I grew up in the area where all fires were bad. Let's put them out. And of course, that's led to a number of problems. Invasive species. We brought hundreds of species into our area, and they don't have any natural predators. And a lot of times they end up taking over our natural areas. Loss and fragmentation of habitat. The picture on the left is 1998. It's what's called the Holland Sand Barrens. It was on the radar of the Department of Natural Resources, but on the right is what it is now, is a housing development. So we've had another few big loss. Other one that I experienced in the early 2000s, Camp Miaconda, the outpost, they sold off about 50 some acres. We actually had a Boy Scout named Johnny Duncan who returned his Eagle Scout badge in protest over this. And our organization, our Oak Openings organization, gave him a stand up and be counted award but of course it's a housing development. And we're still losing a lot of them. Woody species dominance, we have a little bit of everything, both native and non-native, that take over a lot of our open areas. This is my backyard. And this is a fairly regular experience. And so many animals, raccoons, deer, just totally out of balance what they were historically. And deer love the spring ephemerals. I mean, Trillium, Jack in the Pulpits. It's just, they just really like them. And lots of flowers. And they love edges of woods. So we provided them all our suburban areas that they really love. Climate change, we have less snow. It's not as cold. And I think this is really taken why we don't have Carter blue butterflies here anymore. So what's another influence? I think one we tend to overlook is the people that managed the land for thousands of years were removed. As you might notice, there's no Indian casinos in Ohio because all the Indians were removed about 200 years ago. So they worked with the land for years and years. And read a couple of early instances of the Puritans. Nathaniel Morton in 1632 said the savages are accustomed to fire in the country in all places where they come, and to burn it twice a year, visit the spring and the fall of the leaf. The reason that moves them to do so is because it would otherwise be so overgrown with underweeds that would be all coppice wood, and the people would not be able in any wise pass through the country on a beaten path, for this custom hath continued from the beginning. One of my favorite characters from this area is Roger Williams, who was fluent in Narragansett. He was also fluent in English, Latin, Greek, Hebrew, French, and Dutch. So quite a character. But he had a theological argument with the 10 years later. He said, when I argued with them about their fire god, can it say, but this must be a god or divine power, that out of stone will arise a spark, and as a spark fall into the dry wood, burns up the country? Though this burning of the wood to them, they count as a benefit for both the destroying the vermin and keeping down the woods and thickets. So Native Americans have been managing the land for a long time. Just one last one, Harold Mayfield, papers from the early 50s. The oak openings were based on special soil water conditions, but the vegetative cover was shaped by fire. In the last century, the Indian summer days of fall were marked by a haze of smoke in the sky. If vegetation is to be restored to its original state, it will be through the use of fire. This knowledge has come to us only recently. In the 1930s, people had dreamt of preserving a sample of this unique region, thought the key was seasonal flooding in low spots. The early botanists and foresters puzzled over the cause of the openings, but the settlers were in no doubt. The Indians burned it. So Oh,
Try that.
oh. So when we think about who's been in the oak openings, Europeans have been here about 300 years. And Native Americans have been here about 12,000 years until they were removed. So they were the ones living on the land, managing the land. This is an illustration from the Ohio Historical Society, set in Northwest Ohio. It's the archaic people from 10,000 to 2,500 years ago. And a number of things are going on here, building a dugout canoe, grinding various nuts in the fall, and having aware that they're catching fish. We know that people have settled along the Maumee River for thousands of years. It's hard not to dig up artifacts if you dig along the edge of the Maumee River. Okay, so what makes the oak openings unique? This, you can study this diagram in the Living the Oak Openings book in more detail. But basically what makes it unique is we have this heavy glacial till that's almost impervious to water. So throughout the year, we have a high water and low water table. And we have places like Irwin Prairie that are flooded for about half the year. And then we have the high dunes, and because there's a little topography and they're higher, they're extremely dry. They create different types of plant communities. And fire, both natural, although I think most of the fires were set, also occurred here. So anyway, small changes in elevation make tremendous differences in the amount of biodiversity and what grows there. So we have 6 major plant communities. And if you go on the oak openings, you're going to say, well, what one am I in now? They're not always distinct lines between them. Sometimes you have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I didn't warn you ahead of time. We're now going to have a little quiz. And there's no adverse consequences for no answers or wrong answers, but there are prizes for right answers. So the first community we talk about is the Black Oak, Lupin Barren. This used to represent about 45% of the oak openings, but it's fire dependent and it has become smaller. And the first plant, I'm not going to ask you what this is, but that is a lupin. But okay, here's a bird common to this.
Let's do bluebird.
Okay, we only get to win once. Okay, the next one is butterfly milkweed and the pasture rose. Okay, next one. What is this? Okay. Okay, the next one. This is a Carter blue butterfly. Actually, I took this picture up in the Pine Barrens in Albany, New York, since they aren't around here anymore. Our next plant community is what is called the oak blueberry forest. And those are blueberries in the foreground. They get that beautiful color in the fall. And I'm just going to skip over the first picture because it's not very good. That's mine. Okay, so what is this?
Red-breasted grosbeak. There you go. Go ahead.
Okay, what kind of woodpecker?
Yes.
Okay,
Save it for someone else.
let's get that. Scarlet tanager, spice bush, swallowtail butterfly.
Oh.
I don't want to go too late here. Okay, next area is the sand barrens. Very few trees, a lot of open areas. Fire's important. It has about 36% of our rare species in this area. The first one, this is a little tougher one. Does anybody know what this is?
Oh, is that mint? It's mint? Some kind of?
Okay, that's flowering spurge.
Oh, okay.
It grows in barrens and some other areas. Okay, here's a little easier one.
That's that cactus you talked about. Prickly pear.
Prickly pear. Okay, little blue stem. Okay, what is this?
That's an eastern, what? Why do I bring it? I mean, tree.
Okay, this is a lark sparrow.
Oh, birds.
And what's interesting, the oak openings is about as far east as you'll ever find these actually nesting, and they nest in the barrens. They are on the ground. And if you go to Texas, you'll see a lot of lark sparrows, but not so much here. So we have one of these. Okay, mesic sand, tallgrass, prairie. What is this?
What's that? Blue stem. The blue stem?
What kind of blue stuff?
I think you're
Does
right.
it look big?
Yeah, there's big and little. You already answered.
Okay, I look at, this is showy tick trefoil. This time of year, if you walk through a prairie and you have lots of seeds stuck to you, this is what it is.
Oh, that's right. I'm surprised I don't have.
Okay, do you know what kind of bird this is? Bobolink.
Oh.
Okay.
That's a human right there.
Okay, this is our next type of plant community, twig brush, wet fern. This is Tim Sheeter leading a blue weekend walk through the oak from Irwin Prairie through all the wet areas all the way to Kitty Todd. It was a great walk.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't on any trails. And if you know Tim, you may have heard about, he's done a few trails lately, like the Continental Divide Trail of
Oh,
here.
my gosh.
2,500 miles that he walked recently. And then he did the Pacific Rim, and then he's developed tendonitis. But anyway, the twigrush prairie also has a large portion of rare species. So what is this? Yep.
I love the particulars.
And anybody know what this is?
Ooh.
So,
Is that?
It's a woodcock. Now, the reason I usually come across woodcocks is you're walking through a brushy area and all of a sudden some bird flies right up in front of your face and you're about to have a heart attack, and it's invariably a woodcock.
And their dance was very exceptional.
It is. Okay, this one, that's a fringed gentian. They're out now. Anybody know what kind of turtle that is? Yeah, very spotted turtle. Okay. Our last plant community type is the Great Lakes pin oak, swamp white oak, flatwoods. But when I'm in these areas, I see like 10 times as many pin oaks as I ever do swamp white oaks. And this has become much more common because of lack of fire. And it's a lot like a floodplain forest, but there's a lot of this around. But anyway, this is a beautiful, you occasionally see these. You know what this is?
Oh, the lady slipper, lady slipper.
Yellow lady slipper, man? The back. Quiet
In the
people.
back? In the back? Ooh, yes. Nice.
All right. This is cinnamon fern. All right. One hawk here. What kind of hawk is this?
Ooh, that's I wanted to say Coopers, but.
Okay, what's Matty doing on her shoulder? Red shoulders.
Shoulder. That's right there. Wings are so sleeper.
I won't make it. This is a big brown bat. Luckily, at my house, I have a little prairie, I have water, I have woods. And if I go out at dusk, there's bats flying all over the place. So it's a lot of fun. So with all the threats to the oak openings, how do we protect this special plant? Well, lo and behold, you might expect that this is going on. Fire, reintroducing fire in both the Metro Parks, Nature Conservancy have been doing more of this. Natural areas and preserves. If you want to read it, Stephen Pine, who writes a book, a lot of books about culture, people, and fire throughout the world, to write short books with lots of pictures. I often wonder, why does he write like one book that's a little fatter, you know, rather than so many different books with lots of pictures of them. But they're kind of. But anyway, restoring fire is very key. Opening under the all this woody junk that's in our woods that shouldn't be there. Having spent a lot of time with hand loppers, seeing these grinders come through is just a wonderful feeling. It's great. So the other thing, a lot of our oak openings land became farmland. And what that tended to do is take out the dunes and make it very flat, take the topography up. This was a major acquisition by the Nature Conservancy at Angola and Rab Road, I think 280 acres, called Sandhill Crane.
Yes.
And what they did was bring in equipment to make dunes again, make wetlands. So there's a variety of habitat here. And anyway, it's been tremendously successful. This is planting plants right in the wet area. And also when it was dry, I think I helped plant 160 different varieties of seeds.
Gosh.
So you're part of the picture. What can we do to restore? You can volunteer. We have Clean Your Streams Day coming up in about 2 weeks. We have a kickoff at West Winds Park to do cleanup along some of the ditches in areas, oak. I mean, it's a little something. We have lots of volunteer opportunities, the Metro Parks, the Nature Conservancy, lots of folks. So the Oak Openings region, when I say a place to be proud of, a place to explore, a place to protect. I'm going to just leave one final little story before I turn things over to Matty. So about 20 years ago, I was taking a walk at Irwin Prairie on the boardwalk. There was an older gentleman and some younger people, and they were all taking notes. And I tried not to disturb them. And then later on, they'd broken up. And I asked the older gentleman, I said, like I'm an older gentleman. So anyway, I was younger then. I said, "Are you a professor from UT or BG?" He said, "No, I'm from Illinois. These are naturalists from around the United States that came to study your rare wet prairie." So sometimes I'm fearful that we're a secret that nobody knows about, but some people know about, even inside this area. So anyway, turn it over to Matty here. Thanks so much.
Nope, touching the mic right there. Right. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to start with a quick introduction. My name is Matty Watkins. As introduced earlier, I am the Green Ribbon Initiative Partnership Specialist, and then I also work out of the Nature Conservancy at Kitty Todd Nature Preserve. So if you've been there, that's where my office is. But I'm kind of just about everywhere, which you'll kind of see once we get into this. So first things first, why is it called the Green Ribbon Initiative? What is the Green Ribbon? And that green ribbon is that strip from our area in Northwest Ohio all the way to Southeast Michigan up by Detroit. A lot of folks think that when we say the Oak Openings, we just mean the Oak Openings Metro Park that's owned by Metro Parks Toledo. It is not just that. That is a small portion of it. It is that whole strip. And the reason it is called the Green Ribbon is because, and I'll give you some history, in November of 2000, Clean Ohio passed a, Clean Ohio issue. It passed by Ohio voters, and folks in our area got together discussing what to do with these Clean Ohio funds. So folks like Terry Seidel, like we mentioned earlier, from the Nature Conservancy, Jim Gano from Oak Openings Region Preservation Alliance, Phil Williams from the Black Swamp Conservancy, all got together, talked about this. What are we going to do? And the Green Space Initiative report was created. Then later on down the line, it got its name as the Green Ribbon Initiative because Marcy Captor's husband to the aide. Yes, of Marcy Captor. Yes, said you guys should just go around tying green ribbons to people's trees to get them involved. And thus the green ribbon was born. It's very funny because I have only been in this position for a year, and that was one of the things I thought of as like a we should just go out and tie green ribbons. Yes, that's the name. As we mentioned, the Green Ribbon Initiative is a shared vision of public and private organizations, landowners, individuals working to preserve and enhance and restore critical natural areas in the Oak Openings region. These are just some of our partners. There are currently 18 active partner organizations. We also have a mailing list that reaches about 1,000 people. Over 300-ish folks in the Oak Openings region are also on what we call our GRI landowner registry. That is when folks who are landowners within the Oak Openings region give us all their details and sign up to say, I'm here, I'm going to protect this piece of land that is mine in the Oak Openings region. We also go out and do site visits with these folks. We connect them with lots of resources. We put them in touch with other organizations that might have more resources than we do to assist them, things like that. We also maintain a website called oakopeningsregion.org. We send out a quarterly newsletter, which you'll see parts of later. And we host lots of landowner workshops for those on the registry. And we also host lots of volunteer events around the region. Every year, we host something called Blue Week. This is a celebration of all things blue and rare in the Oak Openings region. This year, it's going to be May, the third weekend in May. So look forward to that. That's where we put on a bunch of educational programming. We also have our plant sale that month, all sorts of good stuff. Some of the pictures on here are of sites involved with the Green Ribbon Initiative. That is the, Milky Road Prairie. And this is Irwin Prairie during one of our Blue Week events. I believe that was a frog hunt. We've also got, this is Salamander Flats. I think that's a bunch of bergamot. And then this is actually a ribbon cutting that happened recently at the Gurdam Road Sand Dunes, which is now a state park.
Yes.
So we do have a committee, but before I get into this, I'll give you a little bit of overview. So the GRI is very weird. There's not a lot of things like us. I am technically employed with the Nature Conservancy, but I'm also funded in this position by Metro Parks Toledo as well. So 70% of my time goes towards working at the GRI rather than the Nature Conservancy. But the Metro Parks works with us very, very closely as well. Our steering committee is made up of different partner organizations, different folks who volunteer their time to kind of steer the GRI where we think that it should go. And then we also have 5 subcommittees. That is the Science Committee, and I'm just going to give you some overviews from the last annual meeting on what each of these committees have done. The Science Committee put out 4 peer-reviewed papers that were published by Bowling Green State University, Metro Parks Toledo, and partners. They revised and updated our Oak Openings Conservation Plan. We also had about 100 people attend our Northwest Ohio Natural History and Research Conference. The Sandhill cranes were confirmed to be breeding at 3 of our GRI partner sites, and 35 state-listed plant species were monitored by these folks on the Science Committee. The Land Protection Committee was recently reestablished after 5 years. We had 3 new partners join. We also worked on the Oak Openings priority conservation areas, which you're going to see a map of in just a second, which kind of redefined what we wanted to look at in the area based on some research that students at BGSU were doing. It's really, really cool. At least 133 acres were put into conservation easements and 13 acres were acquired by our partners. The Stewardship Committee handles all of the stewardship activities the GRI does. We completed over 2,500 acres of restoration treatments last year, including 269 acres burned, 550 acres mowed, 252 acres of manual brush cutting, 1,354 acres of chemical control on invasive plants, and an estimated 7,500 hours of volunteer stewardship work. They are so awesome. Love the stewardship committee. We also did stewardship programs with the Adopt a Natural areas in Ottawa Hills. We actually work really closely with the Ottawa Hills folks. If you're unfamiliar with Ottawa Hills, it is a little neighborhood near to, you guys know, you're in. I don't know what I'm saying, but they have a sledding hill in Ottawa Hills. And TNC actually recently worked on that with them, and GRI came out and we did a little workshop, an invasive plant workshop with the folks at the sledding hill to teach them a little bit more about maintenance there. It's really cool. It surprised me. And then last but not, well, not last, mine is last. The Native Plant Committee, the former Native Plant Working Group, was formally recognized as the Native Plant Committee last year. They sold about 3,500 native plants at the spring plant sale. And they also seeded about 21 acres of habitat with native plants. They are also the folks who are in charge of our native plant sales, which funds a lot of what the GRI does. We have a plant sale coming up later in September that I will talk about in just a minute. And then last but not least, our Outreach and Education Committee. I am the chair of that committee. And we put on 24 different outreach events last year for Blue Week. We also held a tour to the Black Swamp Conservancy and Wood County Park sites. And we worked with the City of Toledo, Village of Ottawa Hills, and Partners for Clean Streams on different education workshops. So a little bit of everything. And then all of our partners have different folks who are on each of the committees as well. Ooh. There we go. All right, so why did we start the GRI? What is the purpose of doing this? For one, it is much easier to get money this way. A lot of our work is funded by grants. About 30% of my job is funded by just the grants that we have to try and get from different government organizations. This makes it much easier when we have more partners that we can put on a grant application and say, we're going to work with Metro Parks Toledo and we're going to plant 8,000 blazing star bulbs. They're going to take that seriously because we have a lot of manpower behind us. It's also easier for us to collect match on those grants and then increased reach. As we mentioned, I mean, the Green Ribbon Initiative has been around since 2001. And I didn't know it existed, and I worked at Metro Parks Toledo. So it's very nice to have partners who can go out and get that word out for us. And then better for nature and people. And then these are just a couple highlights. We already got a big highlight from Rick about why the Oak Openings region is important, but just a little top 5. It is a biodiversity hotspot. There are 5 globally imperiled natural communities out of the 6. Water quality benefits for you and the folks that live here. Stormwater storage and improves quality of life. And also you get to see really cool animals like this in your backyard. From the top, that is the great spangled fritillary next to a coral hair streak. Some swamp milkweed, Cecropia moth, and that is a blue racer snake, as well as a blue spotted salamander, all native to the region. And these 2 guys are part of our Blue Week celebration. There are stickers of them. If you go to a Blue Week event, you can find them.
That Matty designed.
Yes. And then this is our website. It is oakopeningsregion.org. And actually, we won't go through it, but if you click through to the website, you'll see we've got lots of stuff up there. We've got all the stuff that Rick talked about, why the Oak Openings are partner organizations. You can join the registry. We've also got the newsletter just below this on the website. You can also find resources on this, and I'll talk a little bit more about that extensively. If you are interested in learning more, we have things like best management practices for invasive species, common invasive species in the area. That's under our resource tab in invasives. It basically has a big chart of all the common names you're familiar with. It gives you a little Might actually have one for you. No. There we go. Gives you something that looks a little bit like this. And it tells you all about that species and how to best take care of it and how much of a problem it is. You notice there's a little square shape at the top there, and it kind of ranks it by if it's like really bad and you need to get rid of it, or if it's just kind of. But those are really helpful. Go back a little bit. Some other things you can find on the website. If you are an educator, we do offer some lesson plans about the oak openings. There is an oak openings primer PowerPoint. And I've actually got some printed out versions over there on the table if you're interested in looking later. But we've got, I think, 3rd, 4th, 5th high school level education lesson plans as well. And what else? Oh, and then we've also got our event calendar that is live on the website. So if you're looking for things to do in the area, we try to keep all of our partners' events up on that calendar as well. Really good website. And you can also find the Living in the Oak Openings Guide on the website as well. We have it in PDF form. It is digital. You can sit and click through it. It is super informative, super helpful. This was made by a grant. And let's see. Oh. All right. We're going to move on to, this is the conservation areas, the priority conservation areas that were identified by the Science Committee. So to identify these high impact priority conservation areas, the Science Committee partnered with BGSU researchers. They developed a series of 15 habitat suitability models for species indicative of a variety of oak openings habitats. So basically using the Living in the Oak Openings Guide, they identified, okay, what are the common species that we want to see here in this area, and then went through and used that data to make this map. So for instance, species like red-headed woodpeckers, the blazing star borer moth, wood thrush, they all represent oak savanna, wet prairie, and flatwoods. So by collecting the known data for these species and then determining correlations with a variety of land cover, soil, and topographic characteristics, the models help identify other areas throughout the oak openings region that are likely to support the species. So they use those 15 models, basically overlay them on the maps, and then use all of that information to decide, okay, where should we focus our energy? Where should we start looking for parcels that we can purchase? What sort of things can we expect from this parcel that we're looking into purchasing?
And are those the ones that are circled on the left-hand side?
Yes,
It's hard for us from this
Yeah.
distance to.
The dark lines.
Oh,
The
the
dark
dark lines.
lines.
The dark lines are just all of the already established, like that is where the prairie, the Petersburg
Okay.
prairie is.
What are
And
the
then that's
priorities?
Irwin. So there's different, so this is just the land cover map. This is not the priority landowner map. This is like the land cover version. If I don't have the actual priority
Sure.
conservation map up because if you try and load it, it like freezes
course.
everything.
Yeah. Details hard.
Yeah, no, the circles are just the
Yeah, the
prairies
maps
that are already
we
established.
get could be been certain.
is it in the book,
By parcel.
in your book?
It is not in the book. This is like brand new, just started last year being a functioning thing that we have.
So
And
but you have a priority list.
Yes, yes,
And
and we
what-
have a map,
What's number one on the priority list? If I could ask.
I mean, that varies
Oh.
for what.
They're not
Just curious.
numbers like
I'm just-
one.
No, yeah, it's more like, how do I explain it? It's more like a map that comes up, there are a bunch of different layers to that map. You can toggle different layers to see like historical priority conservation areas. You can then toggle it to see like certain types of those priority conservation areas. But this is like an ArcGIS, like the big dogs, big technology do that. I don't have a beautiful map to show you of that, unfortunately. And then we talked about the best management practices already, but these were also made with funding by a grant. And we also worked on URAMs, which are Oak Openings Rapid Assessment Methodology, where we go out and we look at a area and we identify what's going on with it, what needs to happen to it, are the things we're doing working, what sort of species are we seeing, all that good stuff. And then this is our native plant sales. There is one in the spring and fall now. It used to just be in the spring. And we are part of the fall plant sale. We partner with local growers. We also split the profits with our partners who work with us on it. It is at the Blue Creek Seed Nursery, owned by Metro Parks Toledo. It was formerly a prison, actually, and it is out of a big white barn. You'll find us in there. But fall is actually a really good time to plant native plants. You definitely can. So if you're interested in that, you want to learn more, definitely come out. There are volunteers working all day that are more than happy to answer any of your planting questions. And we do this in partnership with the Wild Ones Oak Opening Region chapter, as well as Oak Openings Region Conservancy. And then see our list of growers right here. If you're unfamiliar with Wild Ones, I will say they are a great resource for native planting. They even have a specific, they'll have guides to planting native gardens for our region on their website. So if you're interested in native gardening, definitely check out Wild Ones as well. And then these are our newsletters. I am an art education major first, and I was tricked into becoming a scientist. But I actually like to style our newsletter, like the WPA, the National Parks little style. Yeah. So what we do is we single out a different partner every quarter. The first one was Kitty Todd, second one was Irwin Prairie. Then we did Girdham Road Dunes and the Southview Oak Savannah. If you're unfamiliar with Southview Oak Savannah, it is just 7 acres of oak savanna right off of the University Park Trail, right behind Southview High School. The high school and Outdoor Sylvania maintain it. But
Used to be Olander.
yes, used to be Olander. It is very beautiful. I took the photos that are referenced in that picture. So the blazing star and the bumblebee and the trail and everything, that's real. You will see that when you go there. And then that's the Girdham Road Sand Dunes on the right.
Sell the posters.
Yes. Yes. Art is a big thing for me. It brings people in, right?
Absolutely.
So these are just a couple other things you might see if you sign up for the newsletter. I try to put a little cartoon in there every quarter. That one says, I could have sworn it said vernal pool on the listing. And there's a little vermin on the can vacationing. And then I also do t-shirt designs, which if you are interested in the t-shirts, they are for sale at the plant sale this year for $25. It is naturally disturbing because our crew has kind of a joke that if we're going out and we're doing good work, we are being disturbing because the Oak Openings loves disturbance. It loves being set on fire. It loves the forestry mulcher and all that good stuff. So that is a little forestry mulcher monster with the trees on fire next to it. And then, like I mentioned, we also do our Blue Week celebration every May. That's just a little flyer that went out last year for it. Yep. And then just a couple things. Those were the Blue Week stickers. There are 6 of them in total, I believe. So if you attend a GRI program, those stickers are available during Blue Week. And then we also hold an annual meeting every year in March. We go over what the GRI has done that year, chat, have snacks. It's a good time. So keep an eye out for that when it comes back up. And then we are hosting a science summit this year on November 12th. More details will come later, but it is being hosted by Outdoor Sylvania this year. We don't have the speakers lined up just yet, but it'll be a celebration of all of the Oak Openings research that has been done in the past couple of years. So if you're interested in that, keep your eyes peeled for more information about that. And that's it for me.
Oh, no. So, one thing I'd just like to point out, so if you go to the website, you can sign up for the quarterly newsletter, right?
Yes.
So Matty really does a good job of publicizing what's going on in the Oak Opening to that quarterly newsletter. And all kinds of different organization things going on. So if you get a chance, go to the website, sign up for the quarterly, it only comes quarterly. You know, and there's a lot of great information. Of course, Matty's artwork is there. But one other thing I'll mention as far as native seeds, we always have a great event at Scott High School last Saturday of February called the Seed Swap. And Wild One gives out lots of native seeds at that seed spot. So it's a popular table.
I do have the t-shirt if you're wondering.
Oh, you're wearing your
Yes.
t-shirt.
Would you two entertain questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Anybody has questions?
Hey, everyone.
Ask them.
Oh, gosh, that's gonna leave my mind. I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a moment. Hopefully someone else will have that.
Tell me again where the plant sale's at.
Scott High School,
No,
oh, the plant sale, the Blue Creek
Yes.
Conservation Area, the 20th and 21st.
That's at White House.
10-2 and White House.
I have one last flyer over here if you want a picture.
Oh, I know, it was about plants. When you buy the plants in the fall, do you hand a person a potted plant?
Speaker, or microphone.
Sorry, ask your question.
Okay, when you buy the plant in the fall, you're going to get a potted plant, you take it home and you plant. Because perennials, it's a perennial.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get it in there, it's gonna come back next year. It's not like the annuals, so that's a good.
So you
that's a
don't
good
care if the
investment.
top dies down.
Right, right, you still.
What you're interested in is the roots getting established.
Right.
That's the important thing with the perennial,
Mhm.
which 99% of oak openings plants are.
Yes, we have, our sisters, we have a sustainability coordinator, Sarah, Kronberg. And we have beehives on our campus, and in that area, this fall, they will be planting native plants. So that they'll be able to.
Oh, that's
you know, come
wonderful.
up. So the bees will have them close to their hives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they know where to find stuff, but you know, there's a nice area that we can have native plants for them, real close to their hives, so I'm excited about that. I sometime this month, I think she said they'll be planting them. And so I'm assuming she knows what native plants will be, you know, it'll be interesting to find out what she'll be putting in that native.
So sister, there are plants, there are sand dunes out here. This is a sand dune area, which some people I don't even think may even know. Because you get the flat land the second you leave this space, and then you have the houses where they flatten the land, and then the farm where they flatten the land. I mean, if you get out into the area, you'll see the dunes out there.
A lot of West Toledo is. If you go to Ottawa Park
Absolutely.
and look at the huge oak trees there, that's on the edge of the oak opening. You know, one of the landowner registry, and I think it's gonna become an emphasis area. I think we have 300 people lined up. So, you know, it's not just the agencies owning land. It's people that have a habitat on their own property are part of the solution. And, you know, linking up all these areas. And there's a fellow named Doug Ptolemy out of Delaware we've had here to speak a number of times talking about the what's it called, the something national, our homeowners national.
Oh,
park
yeah.
or something.
Talamy.
Yeah.
He's well now.
Yeah, so we've given out a couple of his books.
Yeah.
And anyway, the idea is that if you link up enough private land with good habitat on it, you can support tremendous amounts of native species. His sort of top species is a white oak tree, which he said supports 450 species.
Oh my gosh.
Starting with the little insects that eat it, and the birds that eat the insects, and then the hawks that eat the birds, and so on and so forth.
I also wanted to mention, when you join the landowner registry, and we're trying to get this started up, because we have a lot of folks who need the help. We have the landowner working group as well, which is landowners in the area who have property, who need work done. And either we don't have the grant money to help them, or it's just not something we can do. And so it's folks who can link up and say, hey, you all want to meet at my house on some random Tuesday, we're gonna take the loppers and take out some honeysuckle or something like that. That is also an option as well.
We have, I'm sorry.
You have your t-shirts online and all too?
I do not, they are,
Some.
well, because we are a nonprofit, we're only technically allowed to sell like 6 days out of the year, and 4 of those have already been taken. So
Our other organization I belong to called the Oklahoma Conservancy has this nifty redheaded woodpecker shirt that will be for sale at the plant
you
sale.
get 2 full shirts.
The date of the plant sale again,
20th and 21st
20th.
September.
Bryan gets back in environmental issues here.
Yeah.
Human beings are wonderful at meddling and messing things up, it sounds like. If the species, the invasive species were removed and human beings is vaporized, how long would it take the environment to recover?
Well, the only down part of that is that a lot of the oak openings depended on human intervention.
Humans are part of the ecosystem.
It's just that there's a lot. I think that at the time of European settlement of Ohio, there were about 5,000 American Indians in Ohio.
Yeah.
So as opposed to 11 million people here today, so it's just the numbers of us and the impact that we have. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Well, no,
But to answer your question,
right now.
I have no idea. I've seen that series they had on TV where everybody went, what happened.
The important takeaway is just that humans are part of the ecosystem. So
We sure are.
when we disappear, the environment is going to, I mean, it happened here, so.
A good example would be Sylvan Prairie out Brett Road. When Olander Park took that land, it was farmland.
Well, it was going to be a golf course.
Right, that's right. They
They made all
wanted to
kinds of
change it.
crazy.
They couldn't fit it
It was
in.
going to be a desert golf course.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
But there are, little lakes,
There
there's
you go.
beautiful plants growing now, and it's terrific how much it's, come along in the years.
All right, so if you didn't get the right answer earlier. You're welcome.
Anybody else?
One final question, maybe?
Sure.
Badger, you had a picture of Badger, I didn't think they were in this area anymore.
They're hard to find. They're nocturnal. They really don't like to be around people. But amazingly enough, a few years ago, when they were doing construction on 475-23, the split, which they always seem to be doing construction on, a friend of mine found a badger along the right of way of 475.
Oh, wow.
It's a lighter good.
But there's a couple areas where we've known. Some friends of mine wanted to try to radio collar one or put it like a GoPro on it, never worked out.
There's bobcats out there too, but they also keep.
I know, I know.
Course.
We had one in Sylvania about 20 years ago, along the Ottawa River where 10 Mile Creek and Ottawa Creek come together, the confluence in her room park.
Some interesting
Go take pictures of them. Yes.
There's beavers back on the Maumee River. There's river otters back in that area.
Yeah, Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge.
Fond of saying that even weeds have a flowering period, but I can't find anything good to say about a groundhog outside.
If you have badgers, you will not have ground. Well, I'll give you a little example of other things that go on that are surprising. So I lived in my house for 43 years. I have a little creek behind me. And I didn't used to think there was that much going on the creek. And just looking out an upstairs bedroom window about 10 years ago, I saw a muskrat and it chopped off a little limb off a brush and was eating it. And all of a sudden he stopped eating, started to turn his head, and this black thing comes flying out they turn over in the waters. It was a mink that attacked.
Oh,
And now I see the mink on a fairly regular basis, and I'm in a
Wow,
support.
yeah.
And sometimes, one thing I'd encourage you to do is find a spot in nature you really like. And try to find once a week that you just sit there and don't move for at least half an hour. You can meditate, but you'll be amazed at what shows up.
I run into a Luna moth just sitting in Ottawa Park at like 7:45 at night.
Wow.
So you never know.
Yeah. No, nature there.
Thank you all.
Very nice.
well, thank you both so much. It was wonderful. It's been wonderful. A little bit of what's happening now and a little bit of what we can do and a lot of excitement. So thank you so very much. S.A.V.E. has a little tradition where we hand out to our speakers and make sure I've got the right ones for the right people. Rick and Matty, hand carved pen for you. So
I think I had my one from.
oh my, there's
Now it has a partner.
wonderful. Yes, yes. This is the beautiful cherry wood. This is really beautiful. Yes, yes, okay. Well, thank you so very, very much.
Still handcrafts.